We needed to get to a place where I can truly map in business contextualization into vulnerabilities and truly drive risk related outcomes and move that needle down based on what is truly exposing us, right? Because they're really at any given point, the vulnerability management attack surface is changing all the time, but so is the business, right? And this is the missing link, is that there was nothing ever really mapping and mirroring the business changes and contextualization of the business to the vulnerability management space. And that's really what was my driving factor in wanting to find something that could help us get there. Early on, we were early adopters of Kenna security, and they had a really cool idea about adding threat intelligence into the vulnerability space, kind of prioritizing, creating these risk dials are really aligned with this kind of realization of, okay, if I can associate a risk to an asset or a group of assets, that'd be fantastic. I think some of the shortfallings to that was, it was really hard to get a true representation of what the asset landscape looked like, and then we kind of got to Avalor, which ultimately allowed us to go beyond just the traditional vulnerability scanning engine, the CVE scores, the kind of this new risk prioritization paradigm, but now we're able to ingest all the business information and also other platforms that we have as well. Right, when we talk about different kind of inputs, we have different vulnerability threat feeds. One of the biggest ones for me was pen test results. Right, we spend so much time pen testing. I want to see the efforts of that not in a silo, but integrated into our vulnerability management program. And so being able to take a lot of these inputs, contextualizing the prioritization, and then ultimately providing a holistic view that is actionable, that also takes into account our controls, was just kind of magic for us. And I think vulnerability management is a data problem, right? It's not a vulnerability problem. It's not a patching problem. It's a data problem, because you have multiple sources of truth. You have duplicative information. You have information that sometimes correlates to each other. Sometimes it's completely different. And, how do you get this trust out of your data sets? That was a big thing for us. And, each different scanning engine kind of comes up with its own flavor on how it's going to assess this. Nothing's perfect either. So this is why we wanted a more in-depth approach. So when we talk about things like inherent and residual risk, now I can start trusting the score a lot better, because traditional means was always this inherent risk. And it's like, yeah, but it's really not that bad, because I know I have this, and this in my stack, but no one else does. Like, my executive team doesn't know that. So having this residual risk value to incorporate all of that, super powerful. Avalor necessarily isn't the first company to come out with some sort of prioritization methodology. It's the most transparent, though, right? And that was, I can see how Avalor creates this scoring, right? And we can refine that and tweak that, right? In the actual tool itself. I can weight different things, my team can, on, how do I want this to really weigh and factor the result of the risk? It gives us that flexibility to modify and tweak it in the tool, which is powerful. And I don't have to muck around with any sort of metrics result reporting on the outside. So that's kind of where things are at for us. And it's just been game changing. Vulnerability management has always, again, been that kind of point in time. Where are you? When we're talking about executive level reporting, we want to show a story, right? We're doing a lot of investment. The team's doing a lot of work. And in vulnerability management, it's very easy to get lost in kind of stagnant trending. And I find that this is really able to tell the story to the executive team, and also for my team to see the representation of all their hard work is that, look, we're actually trending in the right direction. Our risk is coming down. This is something that we also want to demonstrate to our board. Part of leveraging Avalor is we've been able to create some custom integrations into our ITSM platform. So standing up tickets, assigning them to the right identities or groups that are associated to those resolution or remediation actions. So that's been super powerful for us. I would say of the executive level reporting that we do now is very kind of score-based with all of the business contextualization. And then that allows us to have deeper conversations with key executive stakeholders throughout the business to say, hey, I got some serious problems in your space. We're seeing the risk elevate. I'm going to need more time to get in there in your program. It might be a bit more disruptive, or, we have to get more into some different maintenance windows, or maybe we have to rethink some business processes, or we have to address something else. The data that we're pulling and able to get is allowing us to broker these conversations with the business that are way more meaningful and that they can partake in the conversation now. We also actually have shared mutual performance goals with my VP of applications as well around addressing vulnerability management. So that's an alignment that we had through our CIO, right? Because I think that until there's ownership or skin in the game for others, they're not really gonna fall into line or play ball. And again, having an Avalor, being able to give them the definition of what's happening and kind of being more partner-like, creating these shorter lists, more prescribed, focused areas, I think they've been a lot more receptive to our approach. The vulnerability space is so dynamic, right? You have to run scans all the time. Things are changing. Things are coming in and out of the environment. But the other big piece is the dynamics of all the other integrations and business context we get. So has anything changed on the identity side? Has anything changed on the exploit side? The data, has it moved somewhere else? Is it on a different asset? So traditional reporting, you're always a month behind. Oh, we're talking about January now. And it's like, it's March. So they're like, okay, but I don't really know, like, am I good now? It's like, well, I'll tell you in a month. That's always kind of the main question that you get out of executive teams, boards. How secure are we? And to have something that is dynamically trustworthy is kind of the answer to that, right? It's the key that we're able to, at any given time, be able to provide an up-to-date, real-time viewpoint of where our risk is. The big thing for me is just creating a greater culture when it comes to risk remediation for vulnerabilities. And I can't stress this enough. We saw some of the survey results just being, there's not enough mitigating control. There's not enough business context going into it. It's still very much technical, right? It's still very much CVE scores. It's still threat intel. And from a security practitioner perspective, that's great information to have. But as a holistic security program for a CISO to solve, it's just scratching the surface. So being able to drive a greater cultural adoption to the mandate and outcome I'm trying to solve here and help the business ultimately reduce our risk when it comes to vulnerability management, Avalor's been crucial for that.